Hello, today let's talk about pretty interesting earphones. They are not new and there are a lot of reviews all over the internet, both in video and text form, but I know that my audience came here just for my voice and my accent. So today let's talk about the model that actually is super promising even in terms of specifications. Its name Raptgo Hook-X, pretty complicated name, and their price is $240. For this price you're getting planar magnetic earphones with additional piezo driver. So pretty interesting. If it's executed properly, it can deliver a really good value for this price. I will add link to the Linsole shop in the description, and basically that's all we need to talk about them, and let's have a closer look. Funny that here they stated that it's planar plus bone conduction. Probably they consider these piezo drivers as bone conduction. As you can see, box looks pretty nice. It's stylish with this silver foiling and interesting logo, so company definitely spent some time working on the design. Inside you're getting box also done in this silver foiling color, and it's great to see some deviations from the traditional Chinese black color. Here everything is also pretty nicely organized. It reminds some eyes and mouth, so some cartoon evil character. And you'll get earpieces themselves. So let's dig inside. And underneath, two extra boxes, so you can see that they are super consistent in terms of packaging, and I really like it. Even case matching the overall style. So in this box we are probably getting, actually I expected cable, but we're getting 3 set of tips, different, a bit different, and you getting 3 adapters for different termination: 3.5mm, 2.5 and pentacon balanced ones. And then it means that cable itself is inside of this case. Zipper is pretty tight, so it needs some time to work, and actually really cool looking cable. So as you can see, external part is done on the superb level. In terms of design, Raptgo managed to create from one hand really ergonomic shape, from another hand design that really stands out from the crowd. So inner part is really smooth, without any sharp edges, fitting really well into ears, at least into mine. Spouts have slightly above average length and proper angle. There is a lip for holding the tips and protective grill, that part that I usually pay attention. So tips holds here pretty well. And they even thought about placing this vent hole on the inner side of earphones. They could have above average sound isolation, but main secret here is that this model is semi-open. This grill on the front panel not only decorative, but it also helps this internal 14.2mm planar magnetic driver reach its full potential. So there is slight sound leakage in both sides. You will hear a bit of outside noise, and music will be also a bit audible outside. In my opinion, it's not big, and in regular street wearing they are more than okay, but in quiet environment you can be a bit irritating to your colleagues or someone nearby, but it's only in case of pretty high volume. And this faceplate looks also pretty unique, with all that myriad of small holes and this green border that adds additional styling to all that. As you can see, they even matched cable to these colors of faceplate, and even the connector. Nice attention to details. Cables are replaceable. Cable is replaceable here. They decided to use regular 2-pin connector without any recessed sockets, recessed pins or something like that. It's pretty tight and fits well. There is ear hooks, but they are pretty soft, but still helps cable keep its form. And the cable itself is really unusual. As you can see, it's thicker than average and it has a fabric coating, so it's not super soft, but slightly softer than average and pretty comfortable in wearing. From one hand, because of this fabric insulation, it has a slight microphonics, but this ear hooks helps to reduce it. And from another hand, the thickness of cable and this fabric coating really makes me believe that it will be really durable. But it's hard to say now, so it's just my expectations. Inside there is a silver-plated copper, and it goes to the splitter with chin slider, and under the splitter it's just twisted into spiral and goes to this connector. As you already saw, you can replace this connector. There is no any locking mechanism, just match the groove and notch and slightly push it. It holds pretty well, so if you want replace this jack many times per day, it will be reliable. So, in my opinion, design really exceeds expectations. And of course about the sound, I gave them about 48 hours of burn-in, but there were no big changes in sound during this process. More important is to find tips, but actually almost all stock tips are similar in terms of softness, spout and so on. So if you have some third-party tips, feel free to experiment. But luckily I found these ones as well suiting to my ears. And in terms of sound, actually Raptgo did everything really nice. They created model with almost natural signature. It has slightly recessed mids, but actually this V-shapeness is really small and it just compensates a little bit our ears frequency response. So it's not bass heavy, it's not treble heavy, really balanced. Bass is pretty deep, it goes to maximum depth and it has surprisingly good impact. So it's tight, it's fast, really punchy, really enjoyable. And when it's necessary, it delivers pretty good might. But it's not adding additional weight because planar driver is pretty fast. But it's not also sound too dry, because when it's necessary it delivers nice rumble and solid foundation. At the same time, when track is not saturated with low frequencies, bass is pretty detailed and with good amount of overtones. So basically it's pretty universal, except for those who like accented low frequencies in terms of weight. But I'm not among that fans. And first example, it's Metallica's Enter Sandman, and drums and bass line in this track sounds really well, with good sense of realism, with good amount of details and so on. And the second example for the low frequencies, it's my classical test track, Musica, Nuda, Libera, and here bass sounds really well. Whole accompanying orchestra is also pretty nice, and what surprised me pretty much here is that that sense of vocal by Petra Magoni. It's you really get this sense of hyper-realism singing right into your ears. Pretty nice and engaging. Mid frequencies are really balanced. They're not trying to go into micro contrast like often does balanced armatures. Some reviewers call that lacking of details, but in my opinion amount of details here is absolutely normal. You get all details in the record. It's just not focusing on the micro contrast. And at the same time it's not trying to color mids some way. There is no bump in the upper mids area to boost the presence. Instead you're just getting a pretty technical planar driver which is pretty natural. And what is in the record it will play back. So poorly recorded tracks with some dirt or something like that will be noticeable. But at the same time they won't be super highlighted. Imaginary stage actually not super big, it's above average but not huge like some few open back models offers. Instead you're getting really good sense of positioning and precision. All music sources are located properly at that imaginary stage and all of them blending well together, giving you good sense of three-dimensional space. And as a first example, it's Nino Katamadze, Bayati. It's great jazz singer from Georgia. Her vocal is really superb, really unusual. She based her tracks both on modern contemporary music and Georgian musical tradition. Georgia is really musical country. They joking that they all can sing, and Nino is one of the greatest examples of this musical culture, and this track requires a good level of technical representation, but at the same time it's not focusing on the micro contrast, so it delivers with a good amount of emotions and musicality. And the second example, it's Queen, Torriatte, one of my most favorite tracks. It's so filled with air, it's so light, it's so effortlessly performed, but at the same time so majestic. So basically it's Queen at their best. All instruments and of course Freddie Mercury vocals delivered really well by these earphones, giving you great sense of emotions and technical performance. And the treble actually pretty interesting. It's not really boosted, so it doesn't sound sharp or hyper energetic, but when some sibilants present in the record, they will represent it. They have a slightly fast attacks and decays, giving a bit of airness sense, but at the same time they have a pretty nice layering for this price, giving you good saturation with overtones. Extension is above average but not maximum, so basically for this price treble is good, but comparing to some more expensive models, of course it could have been better. But still this piezo driver delivers it nicely. I'm a fan of piezo drivers for the treble from the time of first IMR models, so I like it. Others don't like this treble representation, but for me it's pretty natural, balanced and engaging. And the first example, it's Sting, They Dance Alone. So classical Sting with a lot of percussions, bells, chimes, and all that tiny instruments that are hard to spot when you listen on some earphones without good layering and treble separation. But here with these earphones actually they deliver all that nicely, not pushing it forward, but if you focus you will hear a lot of unusual stuff from time to time. And of course if you're coming from more affordable models, not from something more expensive. And the final example for the treble, it's Le Jouet, it's Vladimir Cosma. For me that French comedies and dramas, melodramas were like great source of distraction and window to the whole world, because they were dominating our local television at early 90s, the poorest part of country's history. And of course all that comedies and movies tightly coupled with signature music by Vladimir Cosma. Really treble saturated, really airy, really positive in mood, always giving a good smile with a lot of different chimes and synthesizers goes to the treble area, and these earphones play it on a really good level without being too harsh. About the sources, actually they require something from mid-segment, I mean players, to unveil their full potential both in terms of resolution and control, and actually in terms of power, because they're not super power hungry, but a bit of additional power will be a plus for them. And speaking about the comparisons, actually just two models that I think worth comparing, because other hybrid models definitely sound really different, because balanced armatures give you different representation and single dynamic drivers also different. So what we've got almost everyone compares them with 7 Hz Timeless, and they have a lot of similarity in the mids and bass area, but for me Timeless is a bit warmer, while this one is a bit faster on the low frequencies, and in the treble area this model sounds a bit more natural and balanced for me. And Tin Hi-Fi P2 that I've tested a really long time ago, they are more V-shaped with more focus on the mid bass and more forward treble. Also, they a little bit reminds me old IMR R1 and R1Z, but with less polite treble, with less harshness and less focus on that area. So to summarize everything, maybe it's not a model for everyone, but it's definitely worth listening because it's enjoyable, well done, and offers a really interesting sound. Thank you for listening, thank you for your attention, and of course have a nice day.